Okay, looks like we are live, all set here. So as always, good morning to everybody. Welcome to another Engineering the Markets. My name is Jared, and it is February 16th, 2023. So happy Thursday to everybody. Welcome to market sort of on a consolidation mode. We've been relatively trapped in our general daily consolidation, and over the past couple sessions, there's even been a lot of relative closure next to some of the same price levels. It's kind of hard to tell using the SPX just based on the closure, but you can tell there's sort of a central line at about 41.38, if not a little bit lower, 41.35. Most of our closes have kind of hit near this price, and it's keeping the market, of course, leaning a bit more to the upside. We're not seeing any sort of sell swing follow through. Most downside moves have been recaptured to some degree, but it also is not quite as price volatile as we might think. As intraday traders, we get sort of consumed in the short-term price movement. But as far as new price movement or new kind of levels to anticipate, it's been a lot of the same. We're seeing a lot of defense at 4,100. That's arguably also being defended by last week's close. So it's keeping the market, still high from last week. But if we look at the expected move for the rest of the week, there's a lot of additional volatility that the market expected, especially to the upside. The SPX actually anticipates a retest of 2 week ago's high, sort of 41.95, approximately that 4,200 print, along with downside volatility, which, for the most part, bears have been kind of frustrated simply because a lot of their pullbacks are being covered up or consumed by the rallies. So short term, bears are kind of playing defensive. Bulls are also looking for a little bit of additional upside. And all in all, the volatility that's expected this week hasn't been achieved, which keeps me open to the idea that a catalyst could easily kick off a much bigger move, regardless of the direction, kind of having both levels to anticipate. So it kind of begs the question, what is going to get this market moving again? And if so, what sort of, setups can we be looking for? Arguably, in order to be convinced that the selling is going to persist, we would want to see a break of 4,100. At this point in time, given that we've had sort of 3-day balance high above this particular print, we'd certainly want to get some closure underneath and, from a technical perspective, get a back test indicating that we are now starting to look downside and continue that sell swing. Because that has not happened, the argument remains that there's sort of that bullish lean. To the upside, we want to be careful just with some of the backswing that we're getting. There's been a lot of consolidative distribution events in this area. Just, the relative backswings are quite steep. But momentum, withstanding, if price is starting to push towards that 4,200 level, I would certainly be playing towards the upside as best as possible. Now, a catalyst for today would certainly be the PPI. Just making sure. Yeah, it updated on me there, so some of the changes took place. And in regards to what to expect for this, for the most part, I don't really give this as much lean or, price expectation as I would CPI. But arguably, this is the second part of the inflationary puzzle for this month. Once again, it's the first reading that we've gotten for 2023 data. So I would be looking for whether things are still in line. Some of our general estimates are quite significantly different than what was expected and reported last month over month reading, which would have been a comparison between December and November of last year. So we're certainly kind of waiting for this data. The market volatility expectations not too high for this event. Unlike CPI, I think the overall price swing expectation has been marked down significantly. If you look at the NASDAQ, for example, it's about 2.6. No, I'm sorry. That's the SPY. 2.6 on the S&P. So plus or minus $3 of range. If you remember the CPI day, we had approximately $5 to $6 of high to low range. Most of that was achieved with that 408, 410 kind of downside level being the key target for downside play. The NASDAQ, for some reason, still isn't showing me the expected move. But remember, you can always price out some of the at-the-money straddles, showcasing that right now it's about $3 to $3.50 of expected movement. This is just for today. So regardless of which direction we're kind of leaning towards, unless we're starting to really, move in a clear trend, I wouldn't really anticipate much more volatility unless we get a big surprise from PPI. So it begs the question, what sort of focus should we have today? And for the most part, I think earnings stocks have been quite powerful. They've been relatively good day traders as of late. There was a couple yesterday that actually had some really nice price movement. The ones that are in play this morning, Roku, trading at about 72 at the moment, unless things have shifted. Yeah, about 72. Obviously breaking out, a bit of a stronger bullish reaction. Obviously, pullbacks are likely, but where to pull back to, just some sort of hourly synthetic support like a moving average, along with not really looking for a ton of downside on this name because we are trading above the 200-day moving average. So I'd be looking for some defense of price in this region, and then either a stall or just sort of a neglect of that name. The reason I'm kind of reviewing it from a technical sense is we got a lot of that characteristic behavior yesterday on a stock like Airbnb. Once again, it is gapping up. It's really strong. It's hard to kind of lean into that move, especially when prices take off. But the net effect is that it's a lot of positivity and it's a lot of sort of clearing of range. You'll notice that there is sort of a trading range that I've identified here. Once you get outside of that, price actually tends to be a bit more volatile, simply because you're putting a lot of the opposite side of the market underwater. You're essentially saying that 6 to 8 months of bears are no longer in control of the price. So that tends to be quite powerful, and it's actually more bullish than most people expect. Compare that to a stock like Devon. Once again, it was a downside play yesterday and a bit of a weaker earnings report, along with the weekly chart just kind of showcasing a downtrend, pretty much in formation at this point. And what you'll notice here is this one not only gapped down, but sold. It's been kind of rare to see that recently. We're not necessarily seeing gaps follow through unless they have a strong catalyst. Earnings have actually been providing that for us. So anytime I see this type of movement, especially in regards to clearing pivots, you often want to be kind of focused on those early because they can move quite quickly and they can have a lot of range in their intraday price. The pivot in question here would be this pullback low and the fact that these participants are now trapped or essentially losing on their bullish position. You can also play things like relative pivots here. This actually provided an intraday target as the stock continued to sell. So earnings names are definitely kind of what I'm looking at today. A couple of other ones. We have Shopify. Once again, definitely on the recovery side. If we look at its actual reaction, though, it's coming back in. So this one's a little bit trickier because the assumption is there was sort of a bullish lean into its earnings. It's now essentially coming back inside. That can just trigger profit taking, but it isn't necessarily bearish yet. We would certainly want to clear this pullback low and essentially put all of this region underwater to indicate that we're going to sell down probably to, let's say just our range support. And that's as high as, let's get these prices, about 45, 43. So at least with a couple of these names, there is some price expectation. And with Shop, I think more so was the earnings in line with the volatility. For the most part, it was. So, anytime I see these numbers being achieved by the price swing that we're getting into the actual event, that keeps me, a little bit aware that we can stay between a high and a low. We'll really need to see some volume to start kicking off the trend of more downside. And right now, structurally there is a chance if we break down, but be aware that this could hold and just not really give any sort of continuation, especially with the expected move. But the last one is Cisco. So that's CSCO. Let's take a look at that one really quickly. Closed at about 48.45. Looks like it's trading right at 50. Market was pricing about a $2 expected move for the rest of the week. A little bit of a sharper reaction on the actual event. So it looks as if we pushed way past that, and now we're kind of trading right at 50. That one's going to be a tough shot too. 50 probably has a lot of open interest. Call side, it looks a little heavier. And you can see that if it were to rally, looks like 52.50 was kind of the top end of whatever this spread happens to be. You can almost see that the size is equivalent. So it's probably a spread somewhere in this region. That would be interesting to maybe play for a little bit more upside, but one or two additional dollars at most, I think would be the best I could offer. And yeah, I can't see the time and sales yesterday. So interesting earnings. For the most part, getting directional bias is challenging without the market opening. But if we look at where Cisco is trading at 50 is, for the most part, starting to break out of a weekly flag pattern. So we did get an extension. We got a couple weeks of just price consolidation, no new highs, but also not really breaking trend structurally, like not breaking the extension trend. And then, potential for some continuation here. Ideally being above the pivots would be a better play. If we can get over 50-50, that would at least be more on the technical breakout side and probably give you more bullish momentum. So interesting, but it's kind of parked where you want it to break out from, and that's always tricky. I'd rather already be breaking out at this point, just getting over the levels. So yeah, be on the lookout for that one, but be cautious of it if it's not going to rally, because coming back in is still an opportunity, maybe back to 48 for the gap fill levels, maybe. So let's take a look at some suggestions. Looks like people are lining up their tickers. So ELF is moving nice. I tend to agree. This has been kind of a hidden gem of trend momentum. You can see that this has been uptrending for quite a while. Had a bit of a sharp pullback here, but did connect to the 20 right into its earnings, and now it's taken off. I know a lot of people are kind of playing this more with the option side, but you know, with it being almost it's basically at all-time highs, it's hard to tell what's next for the stock because it is getting a bit extended. Like how big is this range here? Yeah, this range essentially doubled already. So yeah, we're definitely outside of this extension. So, you know, there's definitely some profit taking events here, but I wouldn't be looking for a short until price is showing you some reason to be short. And then I would just look for pullback buys, obviously. Pan W, so that one has not reported earnings. Similar to a lot of stocks breaking the 200, momentum's picking up after we've broken out. I would stick to the hourly uptrend for clarity. You know, the general uptrend here, the deepest pullbacks have been about a $10, $15 drop. And we're keeping that structure for now. It's a bit of a steeper uptrend, which does have some instability to it. And like we noticed, you know, there's kind of a clear resistance level coming in at about pretty much where we are right now. So I definitely wouldn't be buying into resistance, but you can tell that they're trying to break out, you know, using the structure. So, you know, probably another pullback on the way, maybe just a little bit of chop as they hold near resistance. And then, you know, earnings is the thing that's probably going to get it out of resistance. What do you think of 41.35? I think it's the sort of like the value, or it's the balance settlement price for the past 3 days. If you notice how the SPY's been closing, the past 3 days have pretty much always been right at the same price. You know, yesterday we closed a little higher, but these two were pretty much in line. And then I think there's just an afternoon push that closed us high. We need to move from these levels to get price volatility. And we also need to decide whether the market has room to go higher. So it's not to say that I'm bearish or anything, but whatever catalyst kicks off a move, we want to respect whether participants are still winning, because for the past 3 days they haven't been selling, and the market's been closing at that price. So it's essentially saying that the market's comfortable at that price. If prices start to go down, that would indicate, okay, there's a new factor causing some short-term selling. So we need to move from that level. Let's see, I'm gonna go back to the chat room real quick. So for BABA, it depends on what you're doing with it. So ticker aside, you know, BABA has moved to the top end of its trading range. You know, let's just clear all these levels so you can see it. It's usually pretty obvious when you pull up a weekly where things go, you know, especially on big jumps. So the easiest levels to mark were the capitulations back in May. This was a test. It failed to continue lower. That's why you're getting the big rally back, you know, from a technical sense. We've pretty much hit the resistance highs. I think, you know, there's a little gap that kind of rejected at about 120, and we're pulling back in. the short-term trend would indicate that this is the pullback region, but we're not seeing buying yet. So it could pull back in a little bit more, kind of settle in the middle. It's a trading range. You know, there is really no edge except for short up here, try and buy down here, and then play towards the levels. When you start digging into that, you can see that there's maybe some shorter term opportunity to get into those trades as they're expanding. You don't have to buy the low, but you have to play the rally. And then once the rally tops out, you can play it back inside, usually to a VPOC. You know, the entire trading range's VPOC is either somewhere in the hundreds or it's a little bit lower at 90. So, and that's really all you need to think about with BABA from a technical sense. Until we get a breakout, you know, this is a asset and a group of stocks that's on recovery mode from last year. And there's clear signs that they're getting some strength back, but you know, those momentums are died out right now. So we need another kick if we're going to be bullish. QS, strong rally yesterday. Earnings. So earnings reaction. It looks as if something happened this morning. I don't know what this. Oh, I see. It ran up into earnings. I see. And then earnings knocked it back. So do I want to play it? Probably not. It's trading at 10. I don't like trading whole dollars because they're high value zones. So I wouldn't touch it. It moved yesterday, but there was a trend. Now that it's done with its catalyst, it could trade sideways for probably a good couple days. Just settle that out. Let's do Tesla real quick. Relative strength in Tesla. Market going higher, Tesla goes higher faster. Market consolidates, Tesla does have some pullbacks, but in general, it's keeping the trend better. The target that I think Tesla wants is the 200. The way it's set up, the fact that we're not seeing, you know, the drawdown quite yet. There was a chance for a head and shoulders here. It didn't work. So it kind of feels like it wants to go for the 225s. At that point, I'd consider another short play just because we're getting into this box, you know, the high end of the box. So I wouldn't necessarily be long biased outside of a couple days on Tesla because the risk is really high. And if you're going to do that, you buy pullbacks. If you're playing momentum, play it on the intraday. It's a lot easier. Because, I mean, most of the time it moves $5 to $10 every single day. So it seems kind of easy to track that on the intraday. So that covers Maria and the question in the chat. What do I think of Carvana? I think of it how I think of the chart. So what is the chart telling me? We've got an uptrend. You know, there is a recovery uptrend in this name. It looks like the stronger reactions are coming off the 20 right now. You know, so we'll pull away, we'll come back in, volume kicks up, we'll pull back in. Am I thinking it's ready for another big extension? Not quite. This drawdown was steeper than the chart may indicate. This is a 50% pullback from that high. So I think it's going to require more setup before you get like a new high over 20, for example. But it's coming into earnings. So I'd be looking for probably some short-term play in between some of the levels. The ones that are really clear are some of these steep sell swings that bounce. So you just mark off these kind of lows or the low that's nearby to kind of indicate some reclaim of the range, and then see if price can respect it. Because right now we're kind of coming back and testing it. That's the bull. The bear side, you're probably scouting lower highs, and the hope is that you kind of continue this consolidation flag. It's getting a little risky because of the retracement depth so far, and therefore, I wouldn't want to be a bear too low. I would ideally want to be a bear after a big rally because you get more room to the downside. You just need it to top out, essentially. So the fibs would suggest, this is probably a good buying demand zone so long as the trend is still intact. Doesn't mean it's going to make a new high. It just means that, I want to play the short term for now because I wouldn't expect it to go back to 20 in one day. It doesn't look like that to me. So, but if volume comes in, maybe into earnings, we might see a little bit of a volume surge into earnings. That's been happening a lot for these stocks. So, do you see FSLI going up after earnings? For the most part, I don't care. So, do I see it? Sure. I can draw a candle up here. There it is. It's going up after earnings. Do I care? No. I want to know what the market thinks. FSLY after earnings looks like it had a run up. It's already reported earnings. So 14 FSLY, 13 close, about a $2 expected move. We're right at the close of yesterday. So let the market open a bit. I would play an orb on it, to give it a shot. But like most things, do I want to be a swing trade buyer at this level? Not really, because it's already extended. Trends are all about buying low to sell the new high, not necessarily buying the new high and expecting double, triple every single time. It happens, but you're getting a better risk to reward down here. So structurally, I don't know if this one has what it takes to continue this move. The volatility is kind of sharp on it. You can see it's expanding down here. But we're outside of range too. So horizontal resistance, somewhere around, it's actually a false high right there. So yeah, we're at resistance right now. So, the pot odds are, if the orb is strong, I'd play the orb. If it wants to turn around, there's a lot of room for downside because volatility indicates that we're getting sharp oscillations, even with earnings. So just kind of let the chart define that for you a bit. If it wants to keep pushing, I would need to see it get off of previous day close. Right now, it's right on it. So it's kind of like I'm saying I'm long from yesterday, and it hasn't moved. So there's no edge. All right, last ticker. Ross already did the NASDAQ, so just kind of look back into the video. Upstart. Yeah, 2 minutes to the PPI here. That one did have earnings. It looks like it played bullish for the past couple days. It's pulling back right now. Sounds interesting. If it can pull back into this region and put up some defense, it might not be a good play today, but I'd be looking for another sharp move. Not of this magnitude, but something, within a couple dollars of spread. I don't necessarily like it right now because the pullback hasn't stopped. And I'm not bearish on it because of the structure. So I kind of want to see how it plays in the pre-market to open. And then if it sets up near like 20, that might provide a little opportunity. But right now, probably not touching it. It kind of has its exhaustion from yesterday. You want to play it on the days where the spread is wide. The next day, if it's inside of that range, it could be choppy. So you don't want to necessarily play something until it keeps advancing on a trend or a continuation, or it's got like some sharp rejection volume. That way you can play a 50% retracement, something that has size. So, okay. PPI coming out in 30 seconds. So trade safe. Have a wonderful rest of your week. See y'all next week. And as always, stay tuned for pre-market prep. We'll talk more next time.
All right. Good morning, Peter. How you doing today? Hopefully you're having a great day.
I am great, thank you. How are you doing?
Doing good, my friend. Doing good, my friend. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Market Prep. I hope you're doing good today and that you had an amazing day yesterday. Uh, Peter, I know some good numbers, not good numbers, some important numbers. I haven't heard them yet. Don't know if they're good or not. Have been released lately. Have you had a chance to look through those yet?
No, and that's what I'm listening for right now. You're
Yeah.
right. We have a lot of federal. What am I trying to say here? We have a lot of economic numbers that are coming out this morning. That only have marginal impact on the markets. They usually only impact if they're like way off, which is
Yeah.
typically what happens. But we do have jobless claims. I'm not sure if we will get to that screen in a little bit, but yeah. The producer price index, housing starts, the Fed manufacturing, anyways, a bunch of stuff coming up. So I'll keep listening for it, maybe while you give us some of the earnings rundown, and we'll get
Yeah,
back to it.
yeah, absolutely, guys. Let's take a quick look at our gapless list right now. Actually, before even the SPY started reacting to the data, obviously our computers, our algos are doing their thing there, and you can see the SPY dropping a bit. We had a big gappers list on deck, and a lot of it with earnings. A couple of things in play here. The market, for the most part, before 7 was pretty flat. So a lot of the stocks on here most likely have their own thing going on. I know a couple of big earnings coming out today. We'll get into those. Where's my list here? We have Cisco today. We have Roku and Shopify, which are three big ones that we have on our list that people tend to like to day trade. So we'll look at those. But there's a whole lot on both up and down this morning, and looking forward to diving into this and seeing what opportunities we have already, and also what opportunities the market is going to create now as it's doing this thing. We'll come back to the SPY here in just a second. I want to show you guys what we had yesterday, starting with Roblox. Roblox, guys, what an amazing trader it was yesterday. And I did mention this. I do like the way this one trades when it is in play. Had a beautiful pre-market activity, gave you some opportunities there. And at the market open, shot up pretty nice for a beautiful opening range breakout, plus a high of day breakout. We also had some levels here, guys. We had a 44.23. We have 45.58. We tried to get to, couldn't quite make it there. And again, from there, it just kind of got stuck within this range for the rest of the day. But that first morning open and pre-market actually was pretty good. It did manage to end well yesterday. This morning, we're pulling back a little bit, 3%. might be in play for secondary play here, just because how big this gap up was. Here was Tesla. Let's take a look at yesterday's action. Hold on, let me zoom out a little more, show you the entire big picture here. We've seen better days from Tesla. So a lot of sideways action yesterday, did not really trend up or down. And you can see that here on the daily. We came off a really incredible day right over here. It just kind of went sideways yesterday. So not a whole lot going on there. If you were able to time some of these bottoms where you did get some higher lows in here, you were able to catch a move all the way towards 215 here, which is, I believe, the high of the pre-market, around 214.48. So again, just playing this range here. I know there are many traders that do well playing the range. I know Thor loves to play the range as well in the reversals. If you had these levels in place, you could have played that real nice as well. Here is NVIDIA, very similar to Tesla. We had in Tesla, NVIDIA, and AMD were pretty much in line as to how much volume they had and how they were moving, gapping up or down. And I am completely sorry. I am drawing in my 5-minute charts and you guys are stuck on a daily, but I'm sure you saw the action yesterday of what we're referring to. So here's what I'm talking about here. You can see the action on AMD. We talked about NVIDIA as well, and then also Tesla. Again, these are the bottom, the high lows we're referring to, and the breakout towards 214. So, and then Apple yesterday actually traded better than some of the stocks that had a better pre-market activity. So if you see here, a rough start, obviously it dropped down here towards the moving averages, but then it broke out nicely from this level here in the moving averages, hit the high of the day, and it trended pretty nice, right? Not the cleanest we've seen out of Apple, but definitely interesting moves there for later parts of the day. Some of the tickers we had in the morning only had one initial pop in the morning, and then from there went sideways, whether they gapped up or down. So that's what we had yesterday. Let's get over to our market pulse and see what's going on there as far as data and CPI as well.
All right. Well, we're still trying to get a handle on the numbers here. As we mentioned, there's a few things that are coming out. It looks like I've got a couple of different numbers coming out, so I'm not positive, but generally it seems that the producer price index was slightly over what was anticipated, and the jobless claims was slightly under. So a little bit of mixed news there. Again, not enough that I think it's going to have a massive impact on this market. This market just seems to be doing what it's doing. As Carlos has mentioned, I've found trading tough the last couple of weeks. If you're an intraday trader, like many of us are, trying to trade here, sort of the moves as they happen during the day can be very choppy, and the moves aren't telegraphing themselves like they have been in the past. So just be cautious out there. Personally, I've been taking very few trades in the last couple of weeks. And, I'm confident that the markets are going to return. There will be opportunity for my strategies and patterns to come into play. But right at the moment, I'm just being patient and waiting for the right things to set up. That being said, we got a ton of earnings last night and today that we'll take a look at, because many of them are in the gappers that are going to give us opportunity. So don't worry about this chop, right? We get some numbers. The economic situation across North America and the world is very uncertain right now. So I think that's why we're seeing chop in the overall markets. If I look globally, we've seen markets that have generally been, sort of only slightly up or down. Today, generally, we've got global markets mostly down. The European exchanges seem to be up, but around the rest of the world, we're seeing slightly red numbers today. So we'll see what happens.
All right, thank you very much. I'm getting echo.
All right.
All right, thank you very much, Peter. Hold on a second, guys. I'm getting some kind of echo here. Hold on a second. Make sure it's not on my end. Okay, seems to be gone. Maybe I turned on something by mistake. All right, apologies for that. All right, guys. So here at the moment, we have our gappers list, as I mentioned, pretty huge today. We're going to try to go through some of these. We won't get to all of them. Maybe we'll do the top 5. A couple of low floats leading the way here with some big numbers, 70%, 11% there. We'll see what's happening there, but we won't be able to cover everything because it's just way too many. But we'll do the best to cover as much as possible. Let's go ahead and start with our TA this morning. So TA here, these guys are up 70%. Peter. And does it looks like some kind of buyout, or yeah, it doesn't look tradable at all. Based on what I'm seeing here, just one transaction for like 200,000, I believe, at the
Well,
moment.
and that's an excellent read of the charts. Yes, this is a buyout. They're going to be
Yeah.
bought out for cash. It's $86 a share. So look where the price sits. It's usually right below that acquisition price, especially when it's an all cash deal. So it's a $1.3 billion deal, and as you say, that usually means not tradable.
Yeah, yeah. So not tradable there, guys. Move on down to EBS this morning, and they are up 14%. And I don't want to spend too much time on things that look like this because I just believe we're going to have some really great tickers aside from this. But unless there's any great news on this, Peter, that can be worth watching, I don't see the daily and the charts to look great on this one.
Yeah, there actually is in this case. So this is the Emergent Biosolutions, and they had a positive ruling from the FDA to allow Narcan, which is the an opioid overdose medication, right? To reverse that if anybody hits an overdose, that it can be an over-the-counter type drug. So the fact that they make it sort of much easier to access is a potential boost for the drug, which means that the stock is benefiting. So that's what we're seeing today. Bottom line, doesn't matter whether that happens or how they capitalize on that. It matters the perception of the goodwill for the company. So the fact that that news is out is what's causing EBS to jump so much this morning.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, thanks for that. And we'll see where it goes here. Right now, compared to what I'm seeing, the volume doesn't look great. So I won't add it to my list just yet. Not saying that it can't hit our scanners and come back here, but for the most part, not a good one. Oh, what do we have here? We have this thing going from 64 to 81, down to 72, up 13% now. So this thing is a little bit Freedom Holding is trading very freely this morning. So what we got going on with this one, Peter?
This is like a company that I'm not sure we should be looking at. I mean, Freedom Holdings, they're out of Kazakhstan. They only have a 17 million share float. Um, Apparently, they're buying some other investment bank. That was the news to expand their presence in the U.S. But I don't know. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard of this, and all of that just sounds sketchy to me.
It sounds very, very sketchy. And this is trading even sketchier, if that's even a word. But yeah, not liking this one at all. We'll move on down to Roku. So Roku, I know this one had earnings for sure. They're up 9.5 today. 553,000. So great news for them. And it's, if you look at the last couple of days, they traded into anticipation of earnings last night. They had a big day yesterday, and today gapping up some more. So they've been rocking and rolling here the last couple of days.
Yeah, they had a double dose of good news. So that was an earnings play last night after the close, beat their numbers, which made the market happy. Even more importantly, they produced positive guidance. So whenever you increase your guidance, the market tends to get pretty excited for the forward-looking prospects for the organization, which is why Roku was jumping. So yeah, that looks
Hmm.
like it was sort of going on my longer list to see what it looks like as you get closer to the open, but it looks good so far.
Yeah, yeah, looking much better than what we're used to seeing from them, of course. So definitely on my list today, earnings play here. We'll see how that goes. Up 10% and doing pretty good on volume. Here's TWLO. They must have earnings because they usually don't trade very well. Today, their pre-market activity looks very active. Yes, earnings last night, I believe. Yes,
Yeah.
and looking good today.
Yeah, again, they seem to be grouping news together. This is another example. So positive earnings, but they announced a share buyback, which is usually positive for the market. When they buy back their shares, that shows confidence in their own future prospects, as well as reducing the float, which tends to make the available shares more precious. And thirdly, they actually announced job cuts, which is not a surprise. We've seen many companies announce job cuts, but putting all those together makes Twilio a little more active today. What's interesting is Twilio, sort of like Roku, though. Notice the action pre-market, right? We're green. We jumped
Hmm.
up overnight, but it's been trending down all
Yeah.
sort of pre-market. Not on huge volume. We only have 500,000 shares on each one of these, but that sort of messes with me, anyways, knowing what to do with it at the
Yeah.
open. I'll watch it, but I'm not
Yeah.
exactly sure what it's going to do.
Yeah, I prefer for them to stick around here and then give us an opportunity to, play the gap down, or if we see some strength above the pre-market highs, then we can possibly go for a long. But the fact that it's doing this here, it does make things a little bit more complicated to find opportunities, man. I cannot agree with you more there. And Roku's doing the exact same thing. And we'll take a look at the SPY quickly and see if there's anything happening there. I mean, we're dropping, right, since 8:30, since the news came out. We're getting a downwards reaction on it. I wonder if how much of that is obviously pushing these two tickers down, opposed to them just hanging out here with their earnings news and gap up. So as we get closer to 9:30, I think things will start to kind of shape out a little bit better, and we'll see if we can get some great stuff out of this. PBF not looking great at all. I'm not sure if you looked this one up, but this is not looking interesting at all this morning.
I haven't I haven't looked that up.
Don't even bother.
Well, we've looked at it in the past. I know
Yeah,
that it's an energy company. It looks like it's an oil and gas refinery.
yeah,
They
yeah,
had earnings. Yeah, so they
yeah.
reported
No,
good earnings and greater demand in the future. So that's what's giving them a little
yeah.
bit of a boost.
I'm not sure how big they are, they can drive other energy type companies, but Oxy and the other ones that we like to look at would probably be the one I would prefer. Oxy, when does Oxy report, or have they reported already? They
That's
report the 27th. I have it here in Trade Ideas, so we'll
yeah, I
see what
haven't seen
happens.
the
Yeah,
27th. Yeah.
we'll see what happens there, and we'll see if that can move something. All right, I'm going to skip down here. I'm not going to go through the rest of these, but I want to skip down to Cisco because this had earnings, obviously, and they're up today 3%. And they can trade a little bit tricky, right? We've seen some really good stuff out of them once in a while. They're a hit or miss. They remind me a little bit of Intel, where you can have some decent days, but for the most part, on a regular basis, they're very choppy, lower on volume. But today they're looking good. Peter, up here, 3.2 with 384,000.
Yeah, they had earnings last night after the close, positive earnings report, as well as raising their guidance. So another company that increased their guidance, which again is usually a better indicator of what the stock's going to do. So positive news. As you pointed out, though, I've always struggled with Cisco. It's one of those many. I
Yeah.
seem to have a lot of them, but there are many stocks where I've found it difficult to manage it, especially right at the open. So I'd be cautious if this is one you're not used to. It may do
Yeah.
some great stuff, but it can be choppy. Like even pre-market, look, we're already getting candles with big wicks, and I don't know. I just I'm not sure why, but it's one that doesn't move smoothly.
Yeah, yeah. It's again, it's one of those that I really should have it more as a possible, and I think I'll end up moving it down once we look at some other tickers here on this list. Heading over to our gap down just to go through some of those. We have TOST, which is toast. This thing looking like it's getting toast here, down 13%. So not looking a whole lot of fun this morning, but we light volume. What's the float on this, by the way? 294. So it's not a low flow stock, but the volume seems lighter than the usual here on this one. Um, not sure what's driving this down, but usually a sticker like this, I probably won't be paying too much attention to.
Yeah, I don't know. The earnings were actually good. They beat on their revenue. Um, and I think they met on the earnings side. So nothing surprising there.
Yeah,
Yeah, don't know exactly why.
yeah, no good. Anyways, hey, all right. Here's Shopify. So this is moving pretty well today. 1.6 million shares traded, and again, a tough trader. But I always find that it when I'm not watching it, it does very well, or at least it seems like it does. And you guys take amazing trades on it. So I get a little bit of FOMO once in a while when I don't put this on my list. But today they had earnings. Well, they had earnings last night, and you can see here they were getting a reaction, and their initial reaction was to gap down, and now the SPY, I'm sure, is not helping it, and we're seeing more of a drop this morning. So how was the earnings on this one, and do you like this one overall, Peter? I want to get your take on spot on Shopify.
During earnings, Shopify tends to be a better mover. It does trade fairly well. So let's start with the news. They beat They beat their numbers, but they lowered guidance. Once again, guidance is usually what dictates what the stock does. So that's why it's gapping down despite the quarterly beat. Their guidance was lower than expected. That being said, Shopify tends to be jerky. The spread tends to be large, and if you get into it, just be prepared for a bigger move. That's sort of how you should play Shopify, because it tends to move a lot. If you look at that daily chart and you go back in time, I mean, it's been all over the place, right? So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can see, I mean, this used to be what, several $100s, I think, if we go back into 2021. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's not afraid to move around. So
Yeah.
it's certainly an option.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. I'm gonna put it on my list today. We'll see. I think it's looking good, this pre-market. Normally, again, I won't have this on there, but I do like what I'm seeing there. 1.7 volume is definitely in place. We have earnings as a catalyst. I think today might be their day if you're looking to trade this one. But Shoto says Shopify is more like it. Yeah, I agree. I agree
Shopify, yeah,
100%.
that's good. That's
Um, let's
very
see
punny.
here. Yeah. QS, I don't like this one. We've seen it plenty of times. It's quantum space, doesn't get good volume, trades horrible. So I won't be putting this on my list. Unless you have anything to look to share on this, I'm going to move down to the next one, which is
No,
R and G. And that doesn't look good neither. Ring Central, yeah, we've seen this before. It doesn't trade very well. D Dog is one that's actually down 9.6 with some decent volume. Data Dog, this was a hit or miss. It's normally very choppy, like volume. Today, though, 700,000 already. That's interesting. I don't know what's going on with this one. Looks like pre-market earnings today, so might be a
yeah,
good possible. Yeah,
it was an earnings play, as you said, pre-market earnings. Their earnings were actually good on the quarter, but their guidance came in lower than analysts had anticipated. So they're being
yeah,
punished for that low guidance, as you can see by that drop at 7 a.m. So Datadog is one that I know that we've watched in the room several times. I don't think I've ever traded it, but it does seem to get some decent volume at times, and this might be one of those times, so it might be worth putting on a secondary.
yeah, yeah. Agree. I'm going to put on a secondary here. I do like the volume this morning, and I like the drop, guys. 10%, and we were actually in the green early this morning after earnings. This around 7 a.m. looks like we did get a drop here, and we'll see how that continues to play out. Sitting at a again, not the best daily, but if you were to pick a level, this is definitely one, and they're trying to hold here as you see the last couple of minutes, trying to stay above that 80, 50-ish price tag there. So we'll see if it can hold there. Here's Carvana. Carvana doing a couple of things the last couple of actually the last month or so into January. We did get an increase in volume. You can see there into late January and February. You saw this huge spike over to $20, and now we are back down to 11. Today we're dropping pretty hard and fast here, down 7%, 539,000. Now, I know there was I don't know if there was any rumors of it being bought out or somebody investing in this. No, actually they did. It was like $1 billion they were putting into this. I remember that now.
Yep.
Did that news fall apart, or do we have anything new on this?
No, it didn't fall apart. I just think that only gave a temporary bump to the stock, as everybody sort of realized their business. Somebody might want to invest, but their business model is still struggling, especially with they've been stuck with a lot of inventory, and inventory that they paid sort of overpaid for. And as the used car market is softening and prices are dropping a little bit, that's causing pressure on their ability to sort of make a profit. So the Carvana did really well, almost exceptionally well over the pandemic, when
Yeah, yeah,
there was like not a lot of manufacturing, so not a lot of new cars, and the demand was up, and they were able to buy cars at a premium and sell them for a higher premium. For anybody that's been buying cars for 30 years like I have, that doesn't last very long. Used
yeah,
cars rarely sell at a premium, or at least not for long. So
yeah, yeah,
anyways, I don't see any specific news. I mean, they were announced as the America's best employer. I guess when you have a lot of investment money, you can be a good employer for a period of time until you start laying everybody off. But
yeah, yeah.
but I don't see any specific news on them.
Yeah. Again, it looks good this morning as far as their activity and their price. Will I trade it? I don't know. It's one of those it's tricky based on everything going on with their financials, right? It reminds me a little bit of BBBY, although I think at this point BBBY is probably worse. Oh, it's at
Yeah.
188. This is, yeah.
Keep in mind, Carvana, the wild card here is that they were memeing for a while, which means there was a
Yeah.
lot of volume in it, just taking advantage of the motion, right, and causing that some of these moves to just get bigger than they ever were. Even volume right now is a lot higher than it was. If you look at the steady state volume for Carvana, I mean, they were only trading about I don't know 7-8 million shares a
Hmm.
day, and recently they've been trading around 20 or 30 million shares a day. So yeah, like look for a day trading opportunity. As long as there's volume and you
Yeah.
can sort of predict what the stock is doing, then it's in play. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
might be worth keeping an eye on.
Absolutely. Gonna throw that in my secondary and see what comes out of that. We will stop here, guys. There's a ton on our gap down list, but we won't have time to go through all of them. One of that I wanted to take a look at was Roblox, right? Roblox had a big gap up day yesterday. This did run up even further into 45 from around 42, 4204 or so. So I think it'll be a good one for secondary play today. Maybe not on our main list, but definitely I want to keep an eye on this one. This tends to do very well their second day after gapping up or down. So we'll see if this is going to hold. Right now, we're kind of falling apart a little bit here into the lows from yesterday. So looking forward to see how that is going to play out as we get into the pre-market. All right, excellent. Peter, anything you like this morning? I know it's a whole lot today.
A couple I'll just mention to round out some of the earnings picture that I don't think we mentioned. Hasbro, they missed their revenue but beat earnings. By the way, none of these are trading well pre-market, so I'm not sure they're trading opportunities unless you
Hmm.
really want to watch them throughout the day. Crocs, often like Crocs just because it's I can't believe it's a company all on its own. But anyways, they beat their numbers. It's trending positive. CROX is the ticker on that one. And then Paramount, PARA, beat their numbers. Well, they had mixed. They beat the revenue and missed on earnings. So of all the earnings out there, those are the only other ones that I put on my short list just to see if something happens with them. Other than what we've talked about, Tesla continues to look good. It's funny. Tesla's settled into being a pretty steady mover with what I find to be good sort of predictable moves recently. So I've really started to like that one even more than Apple, which is odd for me
Yeah,
because I
I
was
agree with that.
yeah, I've been set on Apple for a long time, but Apple it's the moves are getting smaller in a tighter range, and I've sort of been liking Tesla. So I think it's staying on my permanent list. But that's about it. We'll see as we get closer to the open what starts to look good.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, and I agree with you there, man. Tesla is definitely trading much, much better than Apple is. Apple just seems to be a little bit weird. Although their daily looks pretty nice. If you look at their daily here, we've been shooting up pretty good here. But you have many other tech companies that can give you the opportunity. And right now, we're just getting primed for whatever's next year. I mean, we're just stuck within this 151, 155. Someone mentioned in our chat here, one of the members, that Tesla had big orders at 155, and it's known that I'm sorry, not Tesla, Apple.
Apple.
Apple, yeah, at this 150, 155 area, there's definitely an increase in volume, whether we're coming down to it or slamming against it. This whole range here seems to be 150 to 155, a very interesting area on Apple. And you can see there the massive change in directions in many cases, whether resistance or support, and we're stuck within this range now until we decide what is the next thing to do here. So, looking at Apple though, now that I have it up, it does not look bad right now. Pre-market, we're seeing some good volume. 1.1 million shares traded. We're down 1.2. So not bad. I'm gonna add this as a top possible right now, and we can always come back to this. All right, let's take it to both chats. Let's look at our members tab and also our YouTube tab here as well. Apple is on deck, so that's good. We'll take a look at someone mentioned earlier. What was my friend up here mentioned? PLTR. PLTR. Let's take a look at that. So yeah, PLTR had a nice run the last two trading days. Again, not a big fan of their price activity. I didn't see them yesterday, but looks like they did pretty good yesterday. Not sure if you had an opportunity to look at this one. Did you have this one on your list, Peter? I'm not sure. I don't remember.
I don't actually. Let me check here. Was it on my watch list? It was not on my watch list yesterday. I did put it on sort of a secondary, keep an eye on it. I never
Okay,
found an
okay.
opportunity on it. I found it like intraday. It looks like it had some moves, but they were tough to get into. So I never found opportunity against it.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned earlier that during this market, it has been difficult to take trades, and actually, and can I agree with you more on that? Can I agree with you more on that? Because I've been taking a lot less trades, a lot less trades. So that's
Yeah.
very important too, guys. If you're finding you're struggling, I saw some comments in the chat where you guys said that trading is becoming a lot more difficult, a lot of chop. You definitely can take a lot less trades and reduce your number of risk, but also reduce the number of trades because if you just reduce the number of risk and you trade more, you're kind of in the same situation, right? So be mindful of that.
And don't let the charts after the fact fool you, right? Because it's easy to look like PLTR is a good example here on the screen. It's easy to look at that from yesterday and say, "Oh, look, I mean, there's clear opportunity as it rose." But
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
I can tell you from having watched it real time, it wasn't it to me at least the direction wasn't clear. I didn't see that clear momentum. The level two wasn't supporting, sort of a run. It happened, but it doesn't mean in the moment it's easy to predict. And like Carlos just said, that leads to you getting chopped out a lot. So don't be afraid. Be very specific about what you're looking for, and if you don't see it, don't trade. If you
yeah.
do, then by all means jump in. Just make sure you have your rules, your risk management well defined, and of course a stop loss in place.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right, let's continue here with Bryn. My friend here is giving us Amazon. So let's take a look at Amazon today. And what do we have going on? Oh man, look at this drop. Why they seem to be dropping better than most of these other tickers? It
Hmm.
just seems more aggressive. I'm not sure. Let's look at Tesla. Yeah, Amazon seems interesting. I like that. I will add it to our list. I think even Amazon is starting to trade a little bit better than Apple nowadays. So let's put Amazon on deck here, guys. 571,000, down 1.5. They're daily interesting, not as clean as others, but I like this pre-market activity we're getting here already. So let's see what happens. Mara,
I love
yeah,
Amazon's one of those great stocks to check the news on because I said, okay, let's see if there's news, and you get the weirdest things that pop. Amazon and Google are good for weird news. Weird news of the day on Amazon: they grant 1.5 million euros to a Dutch seaweed farm project to grow seaweed in between the offshore wind turbine farms. Makes sense. You're there anyways. You got the wind turbines. Let's grow some kale in between. But anyways, I mean, 1.5 million euros is nothing, right? Like
yeah, yeah.
Amazon, it's a rounding error on their bank account. So the fact that that's the big news on Amazon today, anyways,
That,
it's
that's
just
that's
amusing.
when you know you really have nothing going on.
Exactly.
Oh man, those are reporters are digging there. All right, so there's Amazon, guys. Let's take a look at Lucid from Danny G. Let's see what's going on there. I'm not sure on this one, man. It's got volume. I have not been a fan of Lucid, Neo, and all these other EVs besides Tesla. Really, I mean, they just have not been trading well, and I don't see anything exciting on Expert right now. I mean, they do have some volume. I'm sorry, not Expert, but Lucid. They do have some volume. I see that, but for the most part, 150,000, which is quite a bit. But I'm not sure. Any news on it? On Lucid, what do maybe we have something
Lucid,
going on.
I don't
I don't
know.
see
I
anything.
haven't really looked.
Yeah,
Let's see. Yeah, well, they have announced that they're giving a credit to customers on their highest end EV models. So that's the big news that I see for last. But that was a few days ago. It was last week, in fact. So nothing in
yeah.
the last couple of days.
Okay, excellent. Um, All right, perfect, guys. Let's go to our community. I mean, we have a nice list already, I believe. We can always look at some stuff towards the back end. But let's go to our community events and announcements. We will come back and fine tune this list. But right now, we have Roku, Cisco, Shopify, Tesla, and Amazon. And if you look at Tesla and Amazon, they're looking really, really nice right now. So we'll come back to those.
Huh. Silver Rocket saying that Toyota came out saying electrics won't get us anywhere. They had long invested in hydrogen fuel cells, so I could imagine that they still are in favor of pushing in that direction. But I'm not sure if that's what the secondary news is under that, but we'll see. All right, to our community events. Always have events going on. Let's go quickly through because we're towards the tail end of the week here. I can't believe it's Thursday already. This week, we've already had onboarding on Monday, which Carlos led this Monday like he does every Monday. That's 8 o'clock for all of our new members. Tuesday, we had a strategy workshop with Andrew on Valentine's Day. He took Mike out for a lovely dinner afterwards, or actually cooked him dinner. I mean, isn't that beautiful? It's and it was great. And the webinar was fantastic and posted into our education center. Last night, we had a psychology webinar with Mike, who talked about your relationship with money. That was a fantastic one. And again, we'll be up soon if it's not already in our education center. Next week, by the way, we have another great webinar, completely new format on the psychology side. So that'll be something to look forward to for next Wednesday. And I should have mentioned, as Carlos has kindly put back here, next week, Thor is going to be doing his webinar on utilizing Camarilla points, pivot points, which will be on the 21st at 8 o'clock. Today is all about mentorship. We're going to have John is actually busy this morning. He's doing a live trading session with our people in boot camp. The PCT boot camp is where we sort of help people accelerate their trading journey. We do live trading with them to take them through the psychology of trading in a very focused fashion. So I did one earlier this week. John's doing a live trading with the boot campers this morning. That'll be kicking off in about 10 minutes. But then he'll be doing a mentorship afterwards at 11. And then Thor's going to be on this evening, as he always is, talking about sort of any questions that you've got and reviewing sort of his market strategy. So that'll be at 8 o'clock. The big thing in our community, the two big things that we're really focused on these days are the trading terminal, which we're actually enhancing. Stay tuned. There'll be some great enhancements coming up in that. You know, it's got everything in there. People are asking in the room, where do you get your news from? This is basically where I go to. You know, if I put in a ticker symbol in it or go to the news tab, you can sort of call up news on anything you want, and it'll give you all that information, as well as the earnings. If you go to the calendar, it's got not only the IPO calendars that I look at on a daily basis, it's got the earnings calendar, of course, which we're big into right now, and the economic calendar, which we talked about at the top end of this show, to tell us sort of what's happening there in the economic markets and whether that information will impact our stock trading. That aside, the next big thing that we're looking at is our live sessions. We'd love to get in front of our traders live, and I can't believe it is it's now 2 weeks away, right? March the 2nd and 3rd, next Thursday and Friday, is when we are doing this live session in San Diego. There is a ton of good information that we've put together. Look, Kim Ann Curtin is someone who, I don't know if you're a member, you might have heard her speak earlier. Andrew met her when he was doing a speaking engagement himself, probably for the Money Show or something else, but she was great. She agreed to join us and did a webinar for us in the session. We loved her so much. We wanted to bring her in person to the session for an exclusive with those that are attending. So Kim Ann Curtin is going to be there to do a talk with us. If you look at the schedule, we have a whole list of strategy webinars, live trading, psychology overviews. It's great because it's a relatively small group. It'll be focused. You can either just listen or actively participate. And we are all there. All of the moderators from the Bear Bull team are going to be there so that we can actively interact with you, answer your questions, and help you through that while we're eating good food, as Carlos is drawing on here. But the agenda for day 1 and day 2 is fantastic. First time we've done a 2-day event, so there's a ton of stuff going on. I'm going to be doing a strategy session. I know that Andrew will be doing them as well. I think Thor's up on stage. Like, we're all sort of giving our different perspectives, and some all material, by the way, we specifically developed for this session. So hopefully we'll see you there. If you've already signed up, great. I know I talked to a couple of people who told me that they're going to be there and look forward to meeting us in person. We still have a few tickets left. We said we weren't, but we did expand the room slightly to try and give more people because we were heading towards sold out. So if you want to get a hold of those last few tickets, go to our website. You'll certainly find it there. And we hope to see you in San Diego. Beautiful city, beautiful town, and a lovely hotel, by the way. I love the Hard Rock. I've got some good stories, and hopefully we'll create some more stories when we're there over the 2 days. So with that, we got a lot of levels to set. I'll pass it back to Carlos.
Yep, absolutely. Question came in here. So someone asked, is the 11 a.m. and 8 p.m. training sessions that are happening today on this channel or the BBT members area? So yeah, so it is for members, and the 11 a.m. session is John, and what he's doing is he is focused on answering questions for newer traders. So, we know that if you're in the chat room with a bunch of traders and you're talking, about the market open and the price action, it's very difficult to kind of ask live questions there about something that sometimes feels very, very basic. So we got an exclusive room at 11 a.m. John is on there, and he is answering any type of question, no matter how basic it is. And the great thing about it is that, you can get a live response, because sometimes trying to answer things through emails, you don't really get to explain things as well as you would when you have someone live showing you with a screen that they can share. So it's a really great benefit to anyone starting out to have that availability of John available to do that. So take advantage of that. And then 8 p.m. Thor goes through a little more advanced of mentorship, which is great as well for anyone that's in the community, whether you're new, experienced, is you're gonna get a lot of benefit from that. So, but yeah, those will be with that's part of your BBT membership, guys. So check it out and see if it's a right fit for you. With that said, guys, let's do some levels. I have Roku here, and we'll start there. And Peter, cut me off anytime if you see something happening that looks good. We can jump into that. We do have a level here at 66.44 towards the bottom, and we do have something at 72. Actually 71.95, which is our high of our pre-market there. Towards the bottom, highs and lows of the last 2 trading days and previous day close. I don't think you really need to get fancy or add anything else there. I'm going to go to the left here. Let's see what we have on the daily, and we will, oh, look at that. Beautiful level on right on the price section too, guys. So right on the price section, we have, let's go ahead and slam that there, 68.60. You could tell that's been an area of support and resistance. The bigger range, which happens to be your low of your pre-market and your high of your pre-market, right? Both 71.97 and 66.34. That seems to be the bigger range that we kind of flirted with a little bit here. So a lot going on there, a lot of action. Those levels are being marked by our highs and lows at the moment. Just want to get a level above this 71 just in case, and that seems to be the 74.97. We will slam a level there. So that looks good for Roku there. Let's take a look at Cisco. So Cisco this morning, we are looking at a gap of 3.1, good volume. Right now, pre-market activity is going sideways. So this is still, to me, looking more like a possible. But we'll do levels for it. But I might end up moving this down if I don't start seeing some good action on it. 49.49 is the low of the pre-market at this time. The high of the pre-market at the moment sitting at 50.57, and then the price action similar to Roku, also right in the middle here, sitting at a 49.98. Might actually be 50. You do have an area with a couple of touches there as well. Towards the bottom, we're set highs and lows. Let's see towards the top of this 50.57 on the daily. We're going back now to April-May timeframe of 2022 last year, and the only level I see here that looks decent for us to add is that 51.64. Let's see here. Shopify this morning. Again, Shopify looks interesting. Today might be the day where I actually end up trading Shopify. We'll see. Good volume, down 13% right now. Spread is okay. It's going to probably get better at the market open, but be on the lookout for that, because as you mentioned, Peter, before, this one is, man, we've seen some really nasty spreads in the past on this one. So be on the lookout for that. Towards the bottom here, we do have 44.50, and we do have another level towards the 42.14. I think once you set those towards the top, there's plenty. Don't get this all congested up there. I am just going to mark down the high of the pre-market at 48.65, and once we slam a level there, Shopify is good to go. So testing that low of the pre-market right now. Again, big drop here, guys, the last couple of minutes, and then now looks like it wants to put in another leg lower. So looking nice there. Tesla, as we mentioned, continues to be our favorite, our buddy here that's trading very, very well every single day, regardless of what the market is doing. Tesla seems to be getting just an incredible amount of volume. 217.81 high of the pre-market. The low is exactly to the point of the highs from 2 days ago. So that's why you see this level on here. So right on there, that's all set for you, 209.80. Below that, more highs and lows from yesterday. And then below that, just one more level. Let's add over here, 202.05. I want to get one more towards the top there. And then we'll have Peter read our moderators list here, see what we got going on. So far, I see Peter and Thor. We'll see what else we got there. And over on YouTube, don't leave yet, because we do have Brian that's going to come on next after this with Andrew to prepare us for the market open. 226.29 is another level on the daily that looks very good. And just in case, guys, we know how crazy and volatile Tesla can be. So adding a level at 236 when the price is at 210 is not something that's, far-fetched when it comes to Tesla. It's just, it can move that much. So I do have my level up there ready to go in case we're going to have that type of day. And then last but not least, we have Amazon, which again, pre-market is the only thing I like right now about Amazon is the pre-market activity. I know they can trade very well, but their daily, it's not reflecting that, especially in the last, I want to say month or so, last 15 to 30 days, seems to have not been all that great. So we'll see. I like this pre-market action we're getting now. As far as levels, we do have your highs and lows here, surrounded by the highs and lows of the last 2 trading days. Low of the pre-market is 99.40. So we'll move this up a little more there, 99.44. And once you do that, I think you're pretty much set. We would love to see Amazon break out of this range. Many tickers like Apple and Nvidia and AMD just kind of just stuck within the range the last couple of days, and that is mainly because of our buddy here, the SPY. So, all right, Peter, what do we have as far as a moderators list? As you do that, I'll bring it over.
Well, as you've been doing that, I've been looking because I keep a 1 minute chart of the SPY up, and it is dead sideways right now with a dropping volume. So I went back and looked at our economic calendar for today, and like we were talking about, we got such a mixed bag, right? Housing starts dead on, jobless claims dead on. That the housing starts month over month though was significantly down, but the producer price index, the PPI, was actually up. So such a mixed bag. It looks like all the money's sitting on the sideline waiting to see what happens at the open. So we could have an interesting open here. Anyways, I don't know where we're going to go. So for me, that means that I'm going to be watching on my watch list AMD, Tesla, and Apple. I'll stick to the standards because I know they're at least reliable in their movement. And then as a secondary, I'll keep an eye on some of these earning plays from this morning, namely Roblox, Roku, and Shopify. There's no IPOs or SPACs today after having had a busy couple of days, actually, with quite a few. It doesn't look like there's anything lined up to open today.
All right, excellent. And then for Thor, we do have Apple, Roku, Tesla, Brian, Shopify, Roku, Toast, D-Dog, and Tesla. And then Susan looking at Tesla, Apple, and secondary list, NVIDIA, and AMD. And here's Megan coming in with Roku and Shopify. So, guys, if you haven't done so already, hit that thumbs up over on YouTube. We appreciate it very much. It does help the channel. It does help this show grow and continue to bring you this live streams over on YouTube. So we appreciate that very, very much. I don't have the likes up. I do have your comments here. We'll look at 2 more, Baba and Meta, before we hand it off to Brian. And I see Brian is ready to go. And Meta, guys, I do like Meta. I'm going to add Meta. I like this little island we have created here that we seem to just kind of start closing this gap here. If we have a weekday, I think Meta could be very interesting. We won't have time for levels, but I'm going to throw that on there. And then last but not least, over from Bashoto on our YouTube channel is Baba, which I'm a fan of. But today, even with this 1.8, I'm not seeing anything exciting on it yet. Been holding this 102 here pretty good the last couple of days. I'll put it as a secondary if anything changes. But at the moment, it's just volume that hasn't really been doing anything as far as pre-market. So we will keep a track on that. All right, excellent, guys. So yeah, we're sitting this morning at 155. You can help us get to 200. We really appreciate it. So if you haven't done so, take the time to do that. It does help us out a ton.
That's
all right.
Right. We'd love to see, give us an old thumbs up. We'd appreciate that. It'd be great. And let us know. We're always open for feedback. If you have something you'd like to see us cover in the pre-market show or a different approach, we'd love to hear it. Let us know because we're here every day and we always want to make it better.
Yep, absolutely. All right, guys, stay tuned for Brian and Andrew as they get ready for the market open. We're going to switch over to them. and you can see their screen in just a second here. Trade safe, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Take care, everybody. Trade safe.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. So, futures really started to fall off here around 8 o'clock, I guess. Had that, or 8:30, had that PPI number come out. Hotter than expected, 0.7 versus what everyone was expecting, 0.4. So, not great. And then I guess one of the Feds, Meister, came out and said something about more work to do. That didn't help. That narrative didn't help either, obviously. So yeah, anyway. What have we got here? Got the Qs selling off more, SPY selling off more. Everything's kind of heading south here. Shop is looking weak, so I'm looking at a couple of rising devil plays here. Tesla's looking weak. Nvidia's losing altitude here.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Inflation.
PPI.
SQQs running up, TQQs coming down. NVDA, TWLO is doing
Nvidia's dropping.
up, not a lot of volume. Meta is down.
Toast.
Right.
Toast is getting toasted.
Right.
The PPI number was hot. All right. Well, let's just see here. Toast is getting destroyed. Nobody wants toast this morning.
All right.
All right.
Markets might stay very weak today.
Yeah, market might be a week overall today. So we'll see what
let's
happens
go to the
at the
economy
open.
calendar. So what did we have today? Building for PPI year over year. Actual came 6. The estimate was 5.4. PPI month over month is 0.7. They were expecting 0.4. Previously was minus 0.2. So that's a huge. That's the cause that's pushing the market down. Core PPI month over month was 0.5. Estimate was 0.3. The previous number was 0.2. Therefore, we are seeing some not very interesting. So this we're dealing right now with here. That's the reason the market has gapped down. PPI, Producer Price Index, I think.
Yes. That, and I think, and there were some comments made by one of the Fed heads, Meiser, that said that she said that the Fed have more work to do. So the market didn't like that either.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
And she
I think
actually,
they have. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say she actually mentioned that she said that at the last meeting, the January meeting, she actually said that she saw some reason to do a 0.5 rate hike next meeting, or so. I don't think the market had that in mind. So anyway.
Yeah, so market, they're not joking around. They want 2% inflation, and they have a very, very, very hard time to get to that 2% inflation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why people are buying the dip, but they literally said 2% inflation. And 2% inflation.
Yep. All right. Well, we got 5 minutes to the open. I'm just kind of settled on the stocks I'm going to watch here. I'm going to watch Shop. I'm going to watch Toast, Tesla, and Nvidia, and I've got D-Dog up too. But Nvidia's catching a bit of a bid here. It's interesting. Q's bounced off yesterday's low. Bitcoin is up again today.
Yeah, crypto borrows are having a good time.
Bitcoin's up another. Well, it's dropping quite a bit. Dropped since 8:30, but yeah, it was up quite a bit. What was Coin doing? The Coin had a great run yesterday.
Like Bitcoin was up like 10% yesterday.
Yeah. It was in the gappers list. It was in on the scanner. Let's just see what happens here. As we get closer to the open. So we're going to have another day we gap down and then finish in green on the day? I doubt it. But who knows with this market? You come in, buy the dip. Oh. Billy and JD are green. It's 2 Chinese stocks green. Kathy Wood's anti-ETF is green. Bit of green with natural gas today. Ooh, NVIDIA just took a tumble.
Yeah, it's the whole queue is really weak.
Q's dropping again. I just got short some shop at 45.90. It's already dropping. If it pops up, as long as it stays below the VWAP. It's looking really weak. Toast has dropped again. I expect shop will pop up a bit, maybe at the open, maybe a bit of it'll do rising devil.